around the board, having Aurora Energies in the list as well to have a wacky toolbox of attackers for tons of options.
I do like a deck that's got a lot of good options. Now, if we take a quick look at the accomplishments here, what these players have been able to do in the past, you can see that Alex Silva, over the past couple years, a very decorated player. Won a special event in 2019, got a top 4 finish at the European International Championships in 2019, got a Regionals top 8 finish in 2019, and in case that wasn't enough, a top 16 finish at Worlds in 2017, which I'm led to believe is not a very easy thing to do.
No, certainly not, and he's one of the top players of his region, very popular as well amongst his countrymen. And on the other side of the bracket, it's Owen Johnson, who he's coming up against. Again, not so much experience at the top level, but even to get into this tournament as far as he has, shows that he must have some great talent behind his play.
And it's like we've mentioned a few times on these broadcasts, it's really nice to be able to take these players who primarily play on Pokemon Trading Card Game Online, who maybe don't get out to physical tournaments for whatever reason, and be able to allow them to showcase their skills and show that actually they are some of the very best players in the world. So now we know who the players are, let's have a look at the game and see who's going to come out on top. Is it going to be this Arceus and Dialga and Palkia deck, which is so beloved or otherwise, depending on who you are, or is it going to be this newer build of Mewtwo and Mew with all of these lightning tricks?
We're definitely going to find out. Looks like we're going to be following Alex's side, who is playing that Arceus, Dialga, Palkia deck. Owen's going to be at the top with that Mewtwo-based build. I do think comparing the Mewtwo-based build to just a regular Pikachu and Zekrom deck, it's actually huge to have that additional 30 hit points on the Mewtwo and Mew, because it's much more likely to take a hit from Brave Blade. So I think just the inherent additional 30 hit points that Owen has in his own tag team based deck is really going to help him here in comparison to the much more often seen Pikachu and Zekrom like straight archetype that's just using it to attack. This time you have a bit more flexibility with the Mewtwo, but you also have that brought additional hit points, which is such a big deal when Zacian caps out at 260.
Oh, absolutely. ADP is trying to use that GX attack. It lets you do an extra 30 damage on all your attacks for the rest of the game. It lets you take an extra prize every time you take a KO for the rest of the game. So Zacian's 230 turns into 260. Something like a Pikachu and Zekrom, that's going down, giving up 4 prizes. But 270... just out of reach. Now, we do see Owen starting off here. He's used a Cherish Ball to search out a Vileplume GX, which is getting immediately discarded to allow him to attach an Aurora Energy. It's any type of energy. And, of course, Mewtwo and Mew can copy the attacks of any Pokemon GX in the discard or on your side of the field. So, just getting it in the discard there, giving him an option for later turns.
Yeah, definitely not a bad idea, especially because it has a decent 2-energy attacking threat. If you want to maybe gust up a smaller Pokemon like a Dedenne GX or a Crobat V or something like that, if Alex is forced to put those into play, it could be a really easy way for him to take 2 prizes. And he's just going to pass it over here to Alex, who has the Cherish Ball to kick things off.
And it's going to have to be a Dedenne here. There's stuff in his hand like Eldegoss. He probably wouldn't wish to discard this early, but the reality of his hand is this is his draw power. He doesn't have any supporter cards that are going to draw him any cards. He's got a Cherish Ball. Cherish Ball will get him a Dedenne. We do have a Water Energy to attach to that Arceus and Dialga and Palkia, which is nice. But the rest of his hand, there isn't really very much he can do. So you play the Dedenne, discard your hand, draw 6 cards, and just see what you can build up. And drawing a Zacian is lovely there because we're probably going to see the turn end with an Intrepid Sword.
Well, he's still got his supporter as well, so there's plenty more actions to come here. He can continue to dig for some energy switch combos here. He can Primate Wisdom, protect the Dedenne. He only plays 2 copies of that card, so making sure he has reach for the following turn is a good option. And he's going to Professor's Research away that metal, looking for Saucer activation as well as energy switches here.
Oh, unfortunately gets a Saucer but no energy switch. He has actually put 2 metal in the discard. Put one there earlier for exactly this kind of play. With an energy switch, would be able to get the famed turn 1 GX attack, but unfortunately looks to have fallen just a little bit short. So we are going to see an Intrepid Sword. And of course, as luck would have it, did have an energy switch that had to discard with Dedenne early on.
Yeah, sometimes it's one of those awkward things. You even play Oranguru for those sorts of situations where you have part of the combination, but at the wrong time, and sometimes you try and savor it for when you are doing big discards, but not able to make the most of it there. Owen is going to manually attach to his Mewtwo and Mew. Doesn't have any gusting option, unfortunately, so can't take an easy 2-prize knockout on Dedenne, but getting any setup damage on this Arceus Dialga Palkia is such a good deal. The Vileplume GX really being important here, allowing him to get 180 damage down early, means that his turn is really solid, and he can move straight into Full Blitz next turn, most likely.
And this is a really good thing, because what he's essentially going to do is Alex uses his GX attack, and Owen immediately takes 3 prizes to jump ahead in the prize race, which, when you're playing against a deck taking extra prizes, is something you're really, really going to need to do. Alex, for his stage, I mean, he did discard 2 metal energy. He's already used a metal saucer. He's got another one in hand. So that's essentially 2 extra energy attachments here over the first couple of turns. So if he can hit an energy off Professor's Research, which he has done, we're going to see the GX attack, if he wants to use it, which you've got to imagine he does, but that is going to mean he's giving up 3 prizes. It makes it a really awkward and annoying decision, which I'm pretty sure was Owen's plan in well, the whole way through.
Yeah, exactly. This means that Alex is then, from then on, forced to find really a lot of combination cards, a lot of gusting options sometimes as well, because it's very difficult for you to get through the Mewtwo and Mew in one hit. So you're trying to have to chain Boss's Orders, as well as finding tons of Metal Saucer and tons of manual attachments. So you still have to make this play, I think. Normally you want to always GX, and protecting Boss's Orders for future turns, never a bad deal here. The Metal Energy pickup means he's most likely going to GX attack here, because then he has his next turn mapped out straight away. He can attach to his Zacian, and he can Boss's Orders, take a 3-prize knockout, knowing that he can then Dead change afterwards. And we know that he's top decking into a Boss's Orders that he can then protect the following turn. So I think he's pretty much already got his next 3 turns planned out.
His hand is certainly looking quite nice. He needs to Boss's Orders 2 turns in a row, and his hand is going to guarantee that he can. Owen here, back over to him. He's got that Mewtwo and Mew, and that extra 10 hit points is going to come in absolutely huge here. Alex is not going to get a KO on the Mewtwo and Mew. So even if Alex is able to take a bench KO, he's not actually slowing Owen down here. He's not stopping Owen's attacking options, and clearly Owen is going to look for something like a Marnie to try and disrupt Alex, and just try and give him as few options as possible here, which is really going to be his route. If Alex can just boss his Orders twice in a row, that's probably going to lead him to victory. So it's over to Owen to essentially keep up the tempo and make sure he's trying to slow Alex down and prevent those Boss's Orders. But we actually see a Marnie right away here, which I like. Owen probably doesn't know, but we know Alex had guaranteed Boss's Orders 2 turns in a row, although he's just drawn 1 straight away again.
But at least this time he can't Dead change afterwards. And I think the best thing about Owen's turn is he hasn't put down any additional easy 2-prize knockouts for Alex at this point. The GX attack has been used. You know, so often Alex wants to win the game in 2 turns here. Owen is going to try and deny that at all costs, because it's just too dangerous right now. A Morwell can change everything, though. Ooh, it's a huge miss from the Captivating Wink. It's a large hand size from Owen. It was pretty much the opportune moment to attempt it. He only plays 1 copy of Morwell GX in his list, Alex, as well. So he's pretty much at that point where he's thinking, well, I haven't seen Owen use Full Blitz just yet, so maybe I can just go with a 2-hit KO through this Mewtwo. I think because there wasn't a Full Blitz, you have to try and make this play. You're saying to yourself that you're winning in 3 turns rather than 2. But now that the Morwell's missed, you probably have to go down that route.
I think you're absolutely right. You can boss his Orders a Crobat, take 3 easy prizes, but due to the miss on the Morwell, what are you getting a 1-hit KO on? It's just not really working. So you get the 2-hit KO, and you just hope that Owen doesn't have one of those explosive turns. It's unlikely he's going to be able to KO that Zacian next turn. He has attacks that can KO it, but not for the amount of energy he's currently got on the board.
Yeah, it would mean some crazy combination with the likes of Tapu Koko, Prism Star, and possibly Bolton getting involved, something like that. But that's a really vulnerable Pokemon, so it really plays against Owen's intentions. I feel like Alex has to play Professor's Research here. I feel like Boss's Orders is just really hoping that Owen is forced to use the likes of Dedenne, whereas there's so few energies on the board, you just want to target those down. So I really think this is the best decision.
Yeah, and he's hit that 3rd Metal Saucer there. There is an energy in the discard, so he can start building up that 2nd Zacian if he wants to. He's got an energy in hand, and there's a 4th Metal Saucer in the deck. So he is starting to build up that backup attacker. Don't click Intrepid Sword. I have lost more than 1 game through misclicking, but you don't want to do that in the global finals.
No, you don't. The only thing that I think is interesting there is that Alex chose to Metal Saucer to the Zacian rather than to the Morwell, because you guarantee that you can finish off the Mewtwo. I guess he's already holding on to the energy switch as well, so it's kind of a moot point, but I think it's safest to attach to the Morwild there with the Metal Saucer.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Moral is a 2 energy attacker, Zacian is a 3 energy attacker, and that Mewtwo's got 10 hit points remaining. You can use pretty much whatever you want to KO it at this stage, but then again, if the Zacian's not getting one hit, it might be that he's got a switch in hand, he's got options for switching and retreating, so it might just be that he's hoping to be able to get those attachments and have that second Zacian ready to go without having to muck about having to attach any extra energy in the future.
Yeah, completely true. And we are seeing a Professor's Research now from Owen. He's got that second energy onto the benched Mewtwo and Mew. He's also been able to discard some lightning energies here as well. So we could see the Dance of the Ancients now, and he could opt to go for either a Full Blitz or possibly a Tandem Shock as well if he wants to do that additional 10 damage. Paralysis isn't really a huge deal into Zacian because they can't chain attacks anyway. They would require a switch regardless because of the text on Brave Blade stopping you from chaining those attacks. But there's definitely upsides to leaving the damaged Mewtwo on the bench, because if you can find that second Aurora energy, you can even use Mewtwo and Mew's GX attack to fully heal the board. So forcing Alex to have the boss's orders on this turn as well as the switch was definitely the correct move. It's just Alex's hand is so robust right now.
Alex does have a phenomenal hand. He's got energy switch, he's got boss's orders, he's got everything he needs to do. He can switch into the Oranguru, he can retreat, he can boss's orders, he can go and get the KO, he can attach an energy to have a Zacian ready for next turn. He could even use energy switch to have a completely fresh Zacian attacking this turn, forcing, a bigger response from Owen. So everything he's got here is playing beautifully into everything he wants to do.
Yeah, this is definitely the best play. To make a completely fresh Zacian sounds really good to me. And he's got the boss's orders. He's also protected the boss's orders with the Oranguru, which has worked wonders for him so far this game. And he can finish off this damaged Mewtwo quite happily and take 4 prizes here.
Yeah, and it's 1 KO away from winning, and either the Zacian survives, and well, either way, you need to get out the active and into the active, or you need to get a metal energy or a switch for your bent Zacian. Oh, he's actually got an energy switch in hand, so we can literally just retreat, energy switch, and attack for game. So it's looking pretty good at this stage.
It's down to Owen to start digging towards reset stamps. This is going to be the thing that claws him back. If you can get a free attack in with Mewtwo this turn, possibly even trying to copy Full Blitz onto your own Mewtwo, try and get 6 energies onto that guy and just be threatening a Tag Bolt GX to win over 2 turns is probably your best move by dealing with both Zacians once this one's damaged. Because if you're using a reset stamp here, you're forcing boss's orders as well as a means of retreating. So I think that's the best option you can go for. Paralysis is still strong here though. My only fear is if you're only like 2 hit KOing through this one Zacian, you're giving Alex way too many turns to Intrepid Sword towards game. So I'd really like to see, as long as the Pikachu and Zekrom isn't prized, that is, see him go for a Full Blitz here.
I think Full Blitz plus Oh, absolutely. Full Blitz plus Reset Stamp, I think, is very much the play here. I mean, with Mewtwo and Mew, or Pikachu and Zekrom, whoever's doing it, putting 6 energy on is always terrifying, because if you get KO'd, you lose all that energy. That is a moot point if your opponent does not have the physical cards he needs to get a one-hit KO on you. But we did see the Cherish Ball searching out the Greninja there, and then straight into a Marnie, so does that mean the Pikachu and Zekrom's prized?
Possibly it means it's prized. I think you'd just simply bench it. It depends as well how many basic lightning energies Owen actually has left remaining in his deck. Because there's been a number that have hit the discard pile already, and he only plays 9 basic lightnings, so possibly the Full Blitz wouldn't have won him the game over 2 turns anyways. As we are seeing him building up more attachments here to that Mewtwo and Mew. It could still be on the table. Here is another Cherish Ball. I have to imagine that he goes for a Dedenne here. He wouldn't have gone for Pikachu and Zekrom pre-Marnie. Well, sorry, he would have gone pre-Marnie otherwise.
Yeah, you would think so. He had the Cherish Ball in hand, and I mean, the Cherish Ball essentially got used for nothing, just to get rid of it, so it wasn't going to be drawn back off the Marnie. It was just essentially burning the card. We do see Dedenne coming down here, drawing a new hand of 6 cards. Of course, the Raichu and Alolan Raichu with the Air Balloon can get out the active nice and easily. So, I mean, Owen's got a lot of options here. He's got multiple attacks he can choose from. The Mewtwo and Mew does come back into the active, but there's no Pikachu and Zekrom here, so it is just a tandem shock. And we do see the paralysis, and this is all right. He's given Alex what is now a 5-card hand, but he just top-decked the Switch.
Absolutely incredible hand. And this is the problem for Owen. He was unable to access Reset Stamp, and it's so important to remove those outs from Alex because he's thinned so many other cards from his deck just throughout constant Professor's researching and Dede changing. And by playing a more patient approach, by setting up the 2-hit KO on the Mewtwo, it gave him that flexibility to research a bunch of times and not play those boss's orders in the early turns, which means all you have left in your deck is boss's orders and your last, you know, Dedenne and Crobat to help you get there. So not surprising to see when you're not reset stamped there that Alex is able to find the path to victory.
Yeah, congratulations to Alex on that game. Very well played. I mean, it's one of those things sometimes. I mean, he just needed a switch and a boss's orders. And the Marnie gave him a boss's orders, he top-decked a switch, and that was just the game. But like you said, that's not a coincidence. There's a reason why the good players happen to find boss's orders at the right time every time. It's because they're playing Oranguru. And how many times did we see Alex use Oranguru to put boss's orders back into the deck so it didn't get discarded with something like a Dedenne or a Professor's Research, etc. Or, you know, Marnie puts cards on the bottom of your deck, so the cards you draw from a Marnie will include the one you put back with your Oranguru. And it's not a coincidence, and then you end up at the end of the game and the ratio of boss's orders to non-boss's orders in your deck, it's just telling you that you're going to draw it at the right time. And had the perfect cards, but let's not pretend that was a super lucky draw off of Marnie. Alex had been building to that for the entire game, increasing the odds all the way along, so that when that inevitably happened, his hand did get disrupted, he had a really good chance of getting what he needed.
Yeah, I think exactly right. I think for Owen, a little bit awkward. It looks to me like Pikachu and Zekrom was prized. Otherwise, on that 3rd turn, after attacking with Vileplume first, you would commit an energy to your active, dig out a Pikachu and Zekrom and Full Blitz to have both Mewtwo's powered up. So looks like his vital one-of, one of the most important one-ofs for the deck was prized, and he wasn't ever able to weave in Bolton plays either. So it made Alex's life a lot simpler to just say, if I can just deal with this one Mewtwo that has the most energy committed to it in the early turns, I'll be able to get over the line later on. So definitely nice to see that identified from Alex. Possibly a little bit fortunate that there was no Full Blitz available for Owen at all, but we'll see how that goes going into the next game.
Absolutely, I do think that Pikachu and Zekrom could have made a difference, so let's head on over to Game 2 and see if Pikachu and Zekrom can make a little bit of a difference. Can't be prized 2 times in a row, right, Joe?
Let's hope not. Looks like Alex is allowing Owen to go first. Owen the one who gets to choose whether or not to start, and oftentimes you see players who use Bolton V choosing to go second to actually get that Electrify, but I think Owen is just so respectful of Arceus Dialga Palkia being given that extra attachment that he wants to be the one as proactive as possible against it by trying to work towards Vileplume in those opening stages.
Absolutely, and I'm looking at Alex's hand here. There's no draw. We've got Switch, Energy Switch, Free Energy, and an Eldegoss. Eldegoss great in the mid to late game. It's kind of like Crobat and Dedenne's cousin, but not in the early game when there's no supporters in the discard. So Owen's going through his turn. He's got Raichu and Alolan Raichu on the bench. He's got a Mewtwo and Mew. He's got an Energy on there. He's got a Lightning Energy in the discard, which is important to attach to a Tapu Koko later. He's got Boltund in the active, a very nice starter. That's a really good turn. And Alex draws a 4th basic energy, and I don't think this is going to be a very dynamic turn.
No, that's a huge problem for him. That really is. I believe the Mawile does have resistance to Psychic, so I believe he's just out of range of being knocked out by a Vileplume, so it's not as simple as Owen just going ahead and grabbing an energy and a switch card and discarding the Vileplume. I think the Mawile will just hang on, which is something, and it meant that he didn't have to put down the Eldegoss for free. But even then, this is horrific. He's literally just hoping that next turn he can draw his way out of this with one top deck.
And that is literally it. You need a Quick Ball or a Dedenne or a Professor's Research or just something that's going to draw yourself some cards. You know, Zacian is great turn 1 to Intrepid Sword, draw yourself 3 extra cards, but if you're going through a couple of turns, your opponent's had a couple of turns, and then you start using Intrepid Sword, that's a little bit too late. Intrepid Sword, great turn 1, it's not that good turn 2 or 3 when you've got no board presence.
And Owen, sensing the weak hand, it wasn't that difficult to sense. He discards the Mani with the Aurora Energy and drops a Crobat instead to draw a few cards for himself. Certainly looking for switching options here. I actually don't really like this attachment to the Mewtwo. I think just attaching to the Boltund and going for Electrify as a safe play is really good. It does depend on how much Dig potentially has, though. If it was already holding on to Professor's Research, it makes a lot more sense to try and make this play here. But you're not taking a knockout regardless, so any like chip damage on the Mawile isn't a huge deal. Not much in this pile there.
But Pikachu and Zekrom for free energy, having built in Tapu Koko's attachment, that could do 200, right? That would get a KO. It's a lot to ask for, but getting a third energy with Tapu Koko, that one, and getting a Pikachu and Zekrom in the discard with a switch, that would be 200, which even with resistance would KO. So Pikachu and Zekrom in the discard and a switch, and I believe we do see a very quick win here.
Yeah, that's the only way that he can get the one-turn win, and he has found Switch. So it looks like he's got Professor's Research, possibly to try and get him there. Oh, Miraculous Duo GX. He actually can use Mewtwo's attack. I always forget that attack. I'm always looking at the discard pile. That's so crazy. So yeah, double Aurora and using the Tapu Koko is all you need. 200 damage with the Miraculous Duo GX. I literally always forget that attack whenever I'm casting Mewtwo.
I mean, we got pretty much a whole combo, right? We even got the GX attack for free energy doing 200 damage, just on the wrong Pokemon. It's easy to forget. Mewtwo and Mew, it doesn't actually have a regular attack. You've got the ability that copies the attacks of any of your GXs in the discard or on your field, and you've got a GX attack that will deal 200 damage. It can do some healing, but it's the only attack on there and is limited to once during your game, and evidently it's fairly easily forgotten. So, I mean, should Alex have put down the Eldegoss there? Would have bought another turn? Would it have mattered?
Unfortunately, I don't think it matters a lot in the grand scheme of things, because Alex's deck, in order to win this matchup, normally is hoping that the only sacrificial prizes are going to be Arceus, Dialga, Palkia. You never really have time to weave in a GX attack if anything gets knocked out first, because the prize race is just too easy for the Mewtwo and Mew, especially when you can't one-hit KO respond it with no damage modification in your deck, no Vitality Band, no Galarian Zigzagoon, nothing like that. So, you know, giving up any individual prize is just really, really hard to deal with in the early turns for Alex. So I think you just brush that one off and say, you know what, I got unlucky that one game and we have to roll into game 3.
Oh yeah, there's always a little bit of luck involved in the Pokemon trading card game. It happens. Those games happen. If they're going to happen, the best time is win game 1, it happens game 2. So then you're still one game away from winning, and it's game 3, and you get the choice of whether to go first or second. We've talked about ADP decks going first and how that gives them a better chance of getting that GX attack off. So let's head on over to game 3 and see if we can get that early GX and hopefully get at least a slightly better opening hand here.
Yeah, it's hard to try and get a hand as bad as that one a second time in a row. And Alex is opting to go first here, hoping that he can find early energy attachments onto Arceus, Dialga, Palkia. His hand is looking a lot better now. He can try and Cherish Ball towards ADP and also Dead Change as well if he feels like it's important. Actually picking up the Metal Energy makes this decision a little bit easier as well. I think you're most likely protecting a Metal Saucer here out of the lot.
You don't want to lose 2 Metal Saucer turn 1. There's 4 of them in your deck. They give you extra energy. Could save the Mani for next turn instead, but I think you do need to Dene here. You're losing a couple supporters, you're losing a Metal Saucer, but you're getting ADP, you're getting an energy, you're seeing some more cards, and you're really, you're gone first. You want that Zacian to Intrepid Sword, so you're going to lose a few cards you'd rather not lose with the Dene, but it's still a pretty strong turn as far as it goes. As long as Alex can hit a Zacian off of this Dene ability, I think we're feeling pretty good here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Getting that Intrepid Sword value is really important. And especially if you get the energy, it basically wipes out the fact that you just missed a Saucer by discarding it. If you can get one off the Intrepid Sword, like he has just done, that's a really big deal.
I mean, it just done, you wanted an extra energy from the Metal Saucer. You just got an extra energy from the Intrepid Sword, so call it a draw. And I mean, Alex is looking pretty good. Doesn't have the water energy yet. Oh, here comes a Marnie, and I don't love Alex's hand, honestly, so if he can hit, say, a water energy and some other supporter or way to draw cards, this could put him in a it's not that great a position, to be fair.
Well,
I was hoping.
Owen's clearly in a worse position. He started out with that Galarian Surf fetched, which is not usually used for this matchup at all. It's basically just in there for its fighting type coverage for the most part. He has found himself a Cherish Ball from the Marnie to 5, though, so this may be working towards Dede changing. It's always awkward putting down to Denes against Arceus Dialga Palkia. You already all know why. It's just got a massive target on its head with the ADP. If it is ever able to Ultimate Ray, that's going to be the thing it always tries to hunt down. Owen is going to take his time here looking for his prize cards. This is his first search of the game as well. But seeing what he takes off the Cherish Ball will really give us a good indication whether he's going towards Mewtwo plays or whether he's going towards Dede change. The fact that he's picked up Vileplume means he probably already has the Dene in hand, or he has more access with Cherish Balls.
So fair few Cherish Balls. That's nice and early. That's pretty good. So we've got a Mewtwo and Mew coming out here from the Cherish Ball, so maybe there is a Dedenne already in hand. Yeah. And there's an Aurora energy, which is nice. That gets rid of the Vileplume, so I think no to Dedenne here. No, essentially just going, I would rather have a slightly slower start, but guarantee, wanting that energy attachment on the Mewtwo and Mew, really valuing that above a potentially more explosive turn. You don't want a Dedenne and then end up with no attackers and no energy, which is potentially a risk there. So a slower turn, but one that he felt he needed to make.
Yeah, and we saw how happy he was to just hit 180 as soon as Alex uses that GX attack. It sets it up really nicely for him. And when you're not leaving those easy prizes around, it definitely makes a lot of sense. We're going to see the Tool Scrapper now, which is actually a pretty opportune moment to draw that card because Owen's sat on a fairly low hand size. He could be holding on to a backup supporter, but if not, he could try and make life more awkward for Owen to actually get any response attack at all in, as we are going to see the Alter Creation GX come down.
And I think the difference in this game is the GX attack is coming out when ADP doesn't have any damage on. So now you can hit, but you're probably not going to KO. So then it goes back to the bench, and you're talking a 2-hit KO after the GX attack has come out, having to grab a boss's orders in order to get that going as well. This is not like game one, where it was you use a GX attack, I take 3 prizes. Owen, he's not had as good a start he did in game one, and game one, he still didn't win that game. It does seem like Alex is in a good position here, having won game one with, frankly, a worse start.
Ooh, and he's just been forced into putting down Dedenne GX as well, so even more awkward stuff for Owen here, as he was missing that switching out thanks to the Tool Scrapper from Alex. Like we said, really good time to draw that card, forcing the outs from Owen, and it's forced down a Dedenne GX, which is exactly what you want to see if you are on Alex's side. We are going to see the Dance of the Ancients now, though. I believe it's getting full value, so possibly going for a Tandem Shock play could be a way to make life more awkward for Alex here.
I mean, Tandem Shock would be huge. Tandem Shock forcing out that switch would be brilliant, and I do see a switch in here, so you've got to think it's Tandem Shock here, and it is, because otherwise, all we would need is just an energy and a boss's orders. That's 3 prizes off of Dedenne, while oh, and there is a boss's orders as well, so that Tandem Shock looks like it could be absolutely huge. Taking 3 prizes off of Dedenne while accelerating free energy, I mean, that is the dream when you're playing this ADP deck, so yeah, Tandem Shock coming in absolutely huge here. It's not over, but now there's no boss's orders. We can see an attack, but we're not going to see a free prize KO.
At the very least, Alex has been able to draw into Switch, and he's actually drawn into his Great Catcher, so we still can see the huge knockout if he wants to here.
As I was saying that, I was watching Alex drawing his cards, and I saw the Great Catcher come up, and I was like, yeah, cheers. Thanks for proving me a liar.
Oh, what a great situation for Alex to be in.
That is a great time to draw your Great Catcher. I mean, great by name, great by nature. Now we are going to see a free prize KO on the Dedenne while accelerating energy. And now the ADP is going to go down, and Alex really doesn't care, because it's going to even up the prizes rather than put him at a free prize deficit. And it's going to get free energy on the field. And we've talked at length this weekend and in the region finals about the importance of getting that energy out, whether it's through Intrepid Sword, manual attachments, Metal Saucer, Ultimate Ray, whatever you're doing to get the energy out, you need those expensive free energy attackers rolling. Getting that while taking free prizes. I mean, Owen knows Alex is not playing many great catchers, and Owen is probably feeling unlucky at this stage.
Yeah, you can't feel too great about that. A huge draw from Alex, getting both the Switch and that one-of copy of Great Catcher at the perfect time. I mean, what an incredible board position. And Owen now, he has to disrupt Alex to begin with, because otherwise there's simply a boss's orders on that Galarian Surfetched for the game. So at the very least, he needs to be taking this response KO and at the same time disrupting the hand here, hopefully with a reset stamp in the best case scenario.
Yeah, that's definitely what you got to do here. Put your opponent to 3 cards remaining, start putting some pressure on, even up the prize trade. But, you know, Owen knows as well as we do, if there's a boss's orders in hand, it is just going to be boss's orders on the Surfetch, and then there's just going to be a KO. There is a reset stamp. That is a huge part of the puzzle. And we see a Switch, a Metal Saucer, and a Professor's Research. So, massive bloom to get the KO here. And as it stands at the moment, Alex is not in a position to win this turn.
No, absolutely. And still unfortunate for Owen, still unable to find full blitz, which would have been the only way that he could try and put Alex on a one-turn clock. I think Quick Ball is the game. I believe Eldegoss is in the deck.
He is.
Yeah, he can Eldegoss for the game now. Wow, incredible top deck for Alex. He's had a good go of this. He's really had a fortune smiling on him in game 3. Made up for that game 2 for sure.
Yeah, game 2 went pretty unideal, but this works quite nicely. Boss's orders into Galarian Surfetch, retreat the Oranguru into the Zacian, click that Brave Blade attack, and take 3 prizes to win the game and the match 2 games to 1. So congratulations to Alex Silva, commiserations to Owen Johnson. A loss in the loser's bracket will unfortunately eliminate him from the tournament, but sometimes your opponent just has what they need.
Yeah, that's Pokemon at the end of the day. Sometimes these archetypes, when we're seeing, you know, one of the best archetypes coming up against the other, sometimes it can be that slice of luck that's the difference between these 2 players. And, you know, when both are playing to their outs and making it as difficult for each other as possible, there's only so much that you can do. And Arceus Dialga Palkia is probably the scariest archetype when it's firing on all cylinders, let's be honest. It's just so powerful at setting the tempo. And whenever you're allowed to Ultimate Ray, it's just such an incredible archetype.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Ultimate Ray is a great attack. You don't always get the opportunity to use it. It is a reason why Dedenne and Crobat are such liabilities when you play them against this deck. Having them go down while your opponent accelerates a bunch of energy, and really, you know, we saw in that last game, I think 3 Metal Saucers got discarded rather than played, something like that. That with Metal Saucers hitting the discard